This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping the wall, it's time. A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
All run. Here comes the judge.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right, away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend. Comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of A's Cast Live. Before we got a little A's baseball for you today from the Valley of the Sun, as the Athletics will be taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Is that at our yard or at their yard?
I believe it's at Hohokam because, yeah, it is, because it's an NBC Sports California game.
Oh, that's right. That's Cody Elias, who is my right-hand man here on A's Cast and A's Cast Live. We have a terrific show for you since it is a TV game, our only TV game of the spring.
Correct, yes.
Ginny Cavnar will be on the broadcast later on at 1 o'clock, so we will play our interview that we did with Ginny down at spring training. Obviously a pioneer in her second year. I was very fortunate that Santa Clara County every single year down in our neck of the woods, and I have to say that now because we're in all these different cities, A's Cast. Now, anybody can listen to A's Cast around the world, but on terrestrial radio, we're on 650 KSTE in Sacramento, and, of course, we're on 95.5 The Bull HD2 in Las Vegas. So Santa Clara County is the biggest county in the Bay Area. It's at the southern part of the Bay Area, and every year they put on a big baseball banquet. It's been going on for like 37 or something years, and A's come down, Giants come down. It's Stanford, San Jose State, Santa Clara, and then all the different baseball teams, and it's been going on for a long, long time. They've had some big-time MCs who have done this for years, like John Miller, Ted Robinson, Ken Korak, and then all of a sudden they ran out of people and they chose me. So if you can't get John Miller, if you can't get a Ford C. Frick Award winner, go with the low budget guy, and that's me. So this year we honored Ginny. She got the media award, and to stand up and to talk about Ginny in front of this crowd, it was like close to 600 people. Was a very special moment. So we'll talk to Ginny coming up here at 11:30. Randy Miller at noon covers the Yankees for NewJersey.com. Whoa, boy. We got some problems in the Bronx. And when there's problems in the Bronx, I get giddy, I get happy. I mean, when there's turmoil in New York, it is great. It is great. You think about all the money that the Mets have spent. Like, as much as everybody talks about the Dodgers and the deferrals and everything, the Mets still spend more money. Mets haven't won a World Series since my freshman year of high school. And you think of how much money the Mets are spending. Steve Cohen and Juan Soto. They going to win the World Series this year? I wouldn't bet it. People aren't even betting. Think about the amount of money that the Mets are spending. And I know talking about money gets old. And we even talked about that before the show, like the Vladimir Guerrero contract. It's like, really, 500? Half a bill isn't good enough for you?
He doesn't want to have it deferred, though. No deferrals. They're about $50 million apart.
Seriously. I mean, come on. All right, so Mets have spent more money than anybody. And they're not even favored to win their division by anyone, right? And then the Yankees, people are complaining they don't spend enough. And it's craziness. So can't wait to talk a little New York baseball because there's a problem in the Bronx. And like I said, when there's a problem in the Bronx, I get happy and I get giddy. Zack Gelof, who's starting to heat up in spring, is going to join us at 12:40. Is it a 1:05 or 1 o'clock start? When are we off?
1:05. So we'll be off at we'll get the audience the exact time. 12:56:50 for us will be off, and then the game starts at 1:05. You'll hear Russ Langer, from who we talked to over the weekend on the broadcast today. So Russ Langer will be doing the game, and then obviously you can watch the game on NBC Sports California with Jenny in Dallas. If you want to watch the game, so like you said, it's our only game on television in the spring, unless you count yesterday when we were technically on television for the Giants on NBC Sports Bay Area. In a game that Zack Gelof hit his second home run of the spring.
I do like how we do not air. Like, I know there's some teams, and to take you behind the curtain, the teams hate it, that every game, like the Angels, put every game on television, and they literally wear out their broadcast team, and they hate it. They like, it's like, why are we doing these games? Or like, why are we doing these games? There's no point to doing these games. And really, to me, to our friends, because we're kind of everything, right? A's Cast, we dabble in the terrestrial, we dabble in the cable world. So they're both of our friends. But it really is a boost on the radio side, and for us, the streaming side / terrestrial radio side. So when we're talking about airing our games, it's a big deal to be on in Sacramento. It's a big deal to be on in Vegas. We will still be on 960 in the Bay Area when the season starts. But for spring training, listening to games, you talk about our friends, the Giants, KMBR 680. I used to work for them years ago. Spring training on the radio is just healthy and good and great and prepares you. Watching these games on TV, like when you're watching MLB Network and 10 a.m., and I rather have information shows on, but I know the ratings are better for these games. I do not watching a bunch of Pirates versus Blue Jay players that most of them will never make the big leagues doesn't entice me. Right?
Had to pick the Pirates, huh?
Yeah, I had to. Well, I had to because our good friend
Road Trip
Mike Mike just ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, he just texted me that too. He did get his picture with the Orioles mascot, but yeah.
The famous Road Trip Mike slipped on some rocks. They were doing some hiking, and next thing you know, I'm getting a picture of Road Trip, broke his wrist or his arm. He's in a cast. He was in the hospital. But you know how good Road Trip Mike is? He's back at the ballpark today. Got out of the hospital, and he's back to their trip through the Grapefruit League.
Because I think hiking, I think Florida.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, where were you? What were you doing? I called him today just to make sure he's out of the hospital, and he's already at the ballpark ready to go. The great Road Trip Mike. Nothing can stop this man when he is on the road. Just quickly on Zack Gelof. Last year, I get it, was a struggle. But we have seen when he came up for 69 games in 2023, and you saw the 14 home runs, you saw the 20 doubles, you saw the 14 stolen bases, and you saw an OPS of 840. And when you look at his size, his athleticism, it's something special. We have focused so much on Lawrence Butler because of what Lawrence Butler did in those 73 games at the end of the season, got him a contract extension, and it's awesome. We focus so much on Rooker because he had an MVP-like season. And if Rooker had been on a better team, he would have got far more votes for MVP. Rooker had an unbelievable year throughout the entire year. It was a career-like year. He does a couple more of that. Wow. It was unbelievable the year that Rooker had. So we focus on certain stories. Let's not forget Zack Gelof. If Zack Gelof can get back to what he was when he first came up, remember last year, had some injuries, played through it. When you play through injuries, you tend to get into some bad habits. Bad habits in the season are tough to get out of. He didn't make excuses. He still showed up and gave you 17 home runs and 49 RBIs and 20 doubles again and played really good defense. So he kept going out there and he battled through it.
He had like 23 steals too, something like that?
He had 25 stolen bases.
Almost a 2020 season.
So he's not happy about his year, but he was still somewhat productive, so they kept rolling him out there. If he gets back to what we think he can be to add to this lineup, the amount of runs the Athletics are going to score this year is going to be very impressive. And Zack Gelof on the show today, I'm still a huge believer in Zack Gelof. And wow, if he gets rocking and rolling, he'd be the next guy you go ink him up to an extension. He, JJ Bleday, we talked about JJ yesterday and the fantastic year he had last year as a center fielder with the power and all the doubles. You start looking at a lineup, you go, wow, there's a lot of thump. Because reality is you got to slug it. You got to slug in baseball. On-base percentage is important, but if you're new to the program, we did a whole thing last year where you went through the data and we took all the different things that we think are important in baseball, and we found out what correlates most to winning. And it wasn't on-base percentage. It was slug. Now, every generation change, every decade, however you want to put it, things change in life. And I'm going to get to change in just a moment. That's going to be the basis of the show today. Unbelievable article by Tom Verducci, one of the best baseball writers of all time, friend of the program. We love having him on. Tom Verducci has expanded far more than just Sports Illustrated, but he's been there for so long. You see him being a color analyst on games on MLB Network, and he's always doing studio stuff for them. I mean, when it comes to writer/TV personality, Tom Verducci's as good as it gets. Well, he hooked up with Max Scherzer, who, by the way, has been dealing this spring and right now has a thumb issue.
Yeah, I was saying he got scratched yesterday.
Wow. But Scherzer's got an idea. We all have ideas about how to get starting pitching to be back in vogue. You've got a soundbite from Hall of Famer John Smoltz about this. Smoltz, really smart guy. Wait till you hear this. It's really, really good. Can't wait. What was I getting to?
It's very long too. You're talking about change, and you're talking about Gelof, and although we're still talking about Gelof and then change, and you went into Verducci, and
I get into Verducci, and I lost.
You didn't lead the whole thing with Max Scherzer about being a future Hall of Famer either.
Oh yeah, the Tim Kirchin. I talked to a future Hall of Famer, Max Scherzer, but Gelof. It was about all the different things that correlate to winning, right? And as much as people poo-poo batting average, if you looked at the list, I can go back and find the list, batting average was much higher because they looked at how do you score runs, and runs translates into wins because you got to score runs. It's the most important thing. We kind of got sidetracked there where everybody started worrying about everything. Touching home plate, touching home plate and preventing people from touching home plate are the two most important things in our game. It's called runs. You need runs to win, and you need to prevent runs to win. Just like in football, you score touchdowns, you're going to win. You prevent touchdowns, you're going to win. It's pretty simple. So they came up with all these different line items of whether it's xWOBA, on-base percentage, OPS plus. They did all these different things. What correlates most to winning? What translates most to winning? Number one was slug. Batting average was way higher than people thought, too. It was not at the bottom. It was like in the top 10. So slug is what the A's are going to have this year. And if Gelof gets going to join everybody else, to have a second baseman that has 25 home run, 25, I don't think that's crazy. He could hit 25. Hell, he could be a 30-30 guy. He's got that kind of talent. So if he gets going, that'll be big. Change is the number one thing I want to talk about. Because change, and this article by Tom Verducci in Sports Illustrated, it's so good. Because change is hard. We don't like change as human beings. We all know that. To make change, people, I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like change. We've seen change in sports throughout the years, right? You can go way back when they outlawed dunking in college basketball. We're in a basketball town, Sacramento. They outlawed dunking in college basketball. And then later on, we created the slam dunk contest. And it was the most glorious thing you've ever seen. Dominique going up against Michael Jordan, Larry Nance. The old school slam dunk contest. Those were legendary. Years ago, they didn't throw the football in football until Frankie Albert and the 49ers started the jump pass. They didn't throw the football. Now quarterbacks sit in shotgun all game long. We never even see quarterbacks get under center. Drives me nuts when you're trying to run the football and you need that 1 yard. But it's like things change, right? Hockey players used to not wear helmets. Now you think that's crazy. Goalies didn't wear face masks. You have a frozen puck. It's frozen on frozen ice. Dudes are shooting the puck at serious velocity, and you don't have anything protecting your face? Well, we made change because if you look at the old goalies' faces, they look like they had been taken behind the woodshed and just hit with metal spikes. They look so. If you can see it, you can Google image what old goalies used to look like. We've made change to better sports to make it more exciting, and we've made change to protect people. Hockey players, we're now all going to wear shields, and we're going to wear helmets. Was Doug Wilson? Doug Wilson was the last Shark to not wear a helmet, right? Former GM.
I'm going to lean with yes because that was the early to mid 90s when they.
Oh, you weren't a Sharkies guy then when we were all Sharkies people down here in what we call the South Bay in San Jose. We were all hot and to bother. Now, Doug Wilson played well past mid-90s, didn't he?
I think his last year was with the Sharks.
I think Doug Wilson was the last Shark because, like, everybody else had helmets on. Then they called you soft if you even had the visor, the glass.
Not a lot of players. I mean, not everyone wears them still,
but you know, you were kind of looking soft. You mean you didn't want to fight. You were kind of soft. But here was Doug Wilson, the only guy with his hair flowing on the ice. And you're like, wow, that's pretty interesting. He was grandfathered into the rule.
92, 93 was his last year.
Yeah. So we made guys wear helmets. We've limited the helmet to helmet in the NFL to try and prevent spearing and concussions. I mean, we're constantly trying to do things to change, to protect people and make the game better. Years ago in the NFL, the secondaries were able to mug the receivers and tight ends. Made it harder to throw the football. Now we're going to flag you, and it makes for a more entertaining brand. So we see the change. You know, hey, to the young kids, there used to be in basketball, no 3-point line. Do you think the 3-point line has changed basketball a little bit?
I think just a little bit. I still like seeing the triangle offense in the mid-range game. But
you want to go back to the 90s where we're backing it in? It's the Heat up against the.
I'm a big ISO basketball fan.
The Heat against the Knicks and the score's 82-78. You want to go back to that?
Always go back to Zoe and Jeff Van Gundy's era of basketball.
Oh, it was awful, awful. It was unwatchable. But look how much the 3-point line. I mean, if you went back in a time machine to the old NBA guys and say, hey, listen, your game is dominated by big men, guys who sit under the basket and are really tall and skilled. But in the future, the game is going to be about this line. We're going to create this line. It's going to go from baseline. It's going to go all the way to around the free throw line and then come around to the other baseline. And if you hit a shot behind that, it's not 2 points, it's 3 points. And by the way, there's going to be small guys who now, not 7-footers, there's going to be small guys. A 6'2" guy can dominate. What do you think the old NBA people would have said if we went back in a time machine and showed them the picture of Steph Curry and showed Steph Curry's height and weight and say, this guy's going to dominate and be one of the greatest of all time? What do you think the 7-footers of yesteryear would have said if we went back in a time machine?
I'll believe it when I see it.
You're nuts. That's never going to happen. Things evolve, things change. How does that equate to baseball? Well, Max Scherzer has an idea of we've got to force the front offices the way we have recently. We've got to force them to change. David Force, our general manager, said right here on this program, just tell me what the rules are and we'll adapt. He never gives opinion on the rules. He won't give opinion. He just tell me what the rules are and we'll build our team. Well, the problem is, and this article talks about it, it's great, it's on sportsillustrated.com right now. It's called burst pitching. I'd never heard it explained like this. And we all know what the definition of burst is. But it's burst pitching, where essentially we're having everybody go out there, and every single time you pitch, I want max everything. Max. I want aired out fastball. And I know Scott Emerson, probably if he's listening in the clubhouse right now, didn't you do that when you pitched? I think back on it, and yeah, I tried to throw hard, but it wasn't just I didn't snap every slider, every single like everything that these guys do now is such max everything. I'm ripping every slider. I'm ripping every breaking ball. And what happens is when you max out the human body over and over and over and over again, it breaks down. Doesn't matter the sport. You go max effort all the time, you're going to get hurt. And front offices haven't adapted. They just go, oh, he's hurt. See you later. Next guy up, because all they want to do is throw volume. They just want to throw volume at you. They want to throw as many pitchers at the hitters, and they want as much velocity, as much spin, max out, next guy. And that's why when you wake up and you read the box scores, you see 6-7 pitchers for each team. I'm just going to read this to you. MLB is concerned about its pitching injury epidemic and the increasing trends of starters working less often and for fewer pitches. The issues are linked. The concept of burst pitching, maxing out velocity and spin in shorter outings has led to more injuries. The fallout from this style also includes more pitching changes, fewer balls in play, and the loss of the prestige for starting pitchers for who traditionally have been important drawing cards. So that one paragraph, burst pitching, maxing out velocity and spin, crazy injuries lead to more pitching changes, fewer balls in play, less excitement, and the loss of the dude on the mound that people pay to see. Starting pitchers. I worked with one. It's been an absolute honor to do television with him, and then to have him on this show is the great Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart was the dude. And when he matched up against Roger Clemens, another all-time great, they were epic matchups. You wanted to see Maddox. You wanted to see Randy Johnson. Kurt Schilling. I mean, on and on and on. We had just lost one of the greatest draws in the history of our game. They called it Fernando Mania. Fernando Valenzuela, when he got on the mound, butts were in the seats. I lived it. I grew up in San Diego. There would be 12,000 people in the stadium on a Thursday night. Dodgers would come to town. Fernando's pitching on Friday night. It looked like a Charger game. It was sold out. And then the next night, Dodgers in town, maybe it's 20-something thousand. But when Fernando was on the mound, everywhere he went, they sold out. You want a later version of that? The great Vida Blue. We got Vida right here, the bobblehead Vida Blue, with his Cy Young and his MVP. When Vida Blue pitched on the road, those A's teams didn't draw at home, but they drew on the road because everybody knew, hey, these guys are stars. You got Raleigh Fingers. You got Vida Blue. You've got Sal Bando. You got Reggie Jackson, on and on and on. But Vida Blue was a huge draw. Charlie Finley used to try and save Vida Blue for home games to try and get more people to come out. People want to pay to watch the guy throw the ball because the guy who handles whatever the object is in a sport, quarterback, point guard, center in hockey, whoever holds whatever the object is, ball, football, basketball, baseball, puck, whatever it is, whoever controls the object the most is a prominent player. And we've been killing it. And this article is fantastic. Despite the downsides, MLB continues to adhere to such a philosophy because the amateur and pro markets have learned so well how to increase velocity and spin. That's your guys' drive line and all the throw tanks that are out there. Or I should say throw labs. We're not swimming here, so we're not. So all these throw labs, we got one here and not too far from us. And I know people are going there, oh, this kid's now throwing. It's like, oh, God. This increasing supply of hard throwers and the injury risks associated with throwing hard have prompted teams to ask starters to pitch less. This right here is alarming. You ready? Everybody, if you're driving down the road and you're listening, this is the one thing you got to, if there's anything you remember from this show today, this is what you got to remember. from 2014 to 2024. That's a 10-year span, correct?
Yes.
The average number of pitches per start have dropped from 96 to 85. And these guys are getting more rest than ever between starts. 85. That's it. Go out there, chuck it as hard as you can, spin it as hard as you can, and then you're coming out. It's 5 and dive. One more stat for you on the pitches. The number of 100-pitch games has decreased 70% just in the past 10 full seasons, 2014 to 2024. Just 100 pitches. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. It really isn't. 100 pitches has decreased 70%. And let me tell you something. These starting pitchers, they agree. They agree. 6-inning starts are down 36%. These are massive. How do you fix it? How do you change? Well, we know people don't like change. You have to force change, and you have to force change with rules. People said for years, you'll never have a clock in baseball. You can't have a clock in the big leagues. By the way, we got a clock. How's it working? Time of games, pace of play, way down. Now everybody's happy. Nobody's a detractor. Have you heard anybody complain about the pitch clock?
I have not.
No, because they look foolish. Change is good. One A's former starting pitcher would totally agree with this. He's still pitching today. We have to get into this. You got to hear what John Smoltz said. It's phenomenal. And Jenny Cavnar doing TV today on NBC Sports California. That's all coming up next right here on A's Cast Live.
The time is now. Pitchers and catchers have officially reported to Arizona. Grab your sunglasses, A's gear, and get ready for some fun in the sun as the Athletics get ready for the 2025 season. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Grab your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Dodgers, Angels, and more at Ho-Ho-Cam Stadium. Don't wait. Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2025 season. Secure your seats today for opening week against the Chicago Cubs and lots of exciting giveaways, including an A's basketball jersey, a straw hat, and 3 bobbleheads. You'll be nodding yes to our Brent Rooker, Mason Miller, and Lawrence Butler bobbleheads in June and July. More hot ticket homestands as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, and Mets. Get your tickets at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today.
A's outfielder Brent Rooker joined Chris Townsend during spring training to discuss the confidence inside the A's clubhouse.
So it's a very real confidence. It's a very real optimism. It's unique in that it's a confidence that also comes with the knowledge that we haven't proven anything yet, and we know that people on the outside still don't believe in us, but we believe in ourselves and we believe in each other. And we are at a very cool crossroads of being hungry to compete, wanting to compete, and knowing that we can compete while also being confident what the future looks like. So it's a cool feeling inside the clubhouse right now. Guys are working really hard. Guys are communicating well. We're talking. We're trying to help each other get better, and that's a cool place to be.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
By the way, are we on the air?
Yeah, why?
Why? Have you seen it outside?
The atmospheric river we're getting here.
The atmospheric river that is coming in as we speak. Like right before the show, you're hearing stuff fall all over. So I live in an area that has a ton of trees, and I live right across the street from a park. And the sounds when the wind comes howling and things start falling and it starts pouring rain. This is like going to be heavy through Friday, right?
Yeah, I think I saw the next 3 days are supposed to rain.
Wow. It does not look good outside.
Meanwhile, it was like 70 degrees and sunny the last 2 days. Now we're stuck with this.
What's it in Mesa today?
Let's find out. I know they called the game early in Scottsdale.
Yeah, they've had some weather issues down in Arizona.
I'm getting to the weather here in a second. You said Mesa.
When we're there, it's always 75.
Right now, it's saying 65. By the time the game starts at 1 o'clock, it'll be 69 degrees out.
That's this time of the year. That's still. I mean, that's obviously that's good weather for most, but that's not traditional spring training weather.
That weather brought to you by the Weather Channel app.
Weather.com right here on A's Cast Live. So right now, as we were coming on the show, it was starting to come down, but the winds have been howling. It's about to get nasty. It is going to get nasty real. We buried the lead today.
It's about to get really real fast.
As Jim Harbaugh said, it's going to get real fast. And with this sword and this shovel, we will build Levi Stadium.
It's one of the best ones.
Jim, how are you going to build Levi Stadium with a sword? I don't get the sword. He's on a roll. Let him go. Buried the lead today. We've got the big game, basketball edition today. The big game, for all of you who don't know, and for people listening in Las Vegas, is when two traditionally bad, very intellectual schools go after it in football. They do have their moments in the sun, speaking of Harbaugh. But when Stanford and Cal hook up in football, it's called the big game every year. Traditionally, the game really doesn't mean much because they're both stinkers. But it means a lot to people in our area. And now means a lot to me because I have two kids at Cal, and one's a cheerleader. Right now, my child is in North Carolina at the ACC tournament with the Cal Bears. Cal with a dramatic double overtime win yesterday against Virginia Tech. They move on to take on Stanford today. Not often you get to play your hated arch rival in a tournament. Winner moves on, loser goes home. Drama.
Yeah, both not great years for Cal and Stanford in basketball.
Stanford not bad. They're 19-12. At least they're over 500. Cal not so hot. And Mark Mattson they're 14-18. But it doesn't matter. You throw the records out when these two go after it.
Yeah, and if you want to tie it in real quick with just the Bay Area, last night was it was in Vegas, the West Coast Championship, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, because who else would it be?
Okay, nobody cares.
Oh.
Stojakovic, Andre Stojakovic, Peja's kid. Look at me throwing it out there to our Sacramento Kings fans. Peja's son, Andre, plays for Cal. He had 29 yesterday. He really showed up for the Cal Bears.
He only shows up for big games, huh?
Wow, you said that. That was Cody Elias, not Chris Townsend. I'm all in on on Peja Stojakovic and Andre Stojakovic.
Peja always showed up.
I saw Peja at a game this year. And it was funny. It was like he's sitting there talking. Next, wham, all these people have like pictures for him to sign. I mean, he was a star, right? So they had all these pictures for him to sign.
Well, tomorrow's Kings Warriors in the Bay Area. So that's a big one. I think it's the last time they play this year, unless they play in the postseason.
Hey, we're moving to Sacramento. You still going to be – do I still have my Warriors foam finger around here? It's somewhere. You going to still be playing that Warrior thing when we're up in I'm trying to light the beam, and you're still doing the Warrior thing?
I'll wear my Draymond. Do you want me to wear my Draymond jersey tomorrow?
Do not wear your Draymond Green jersey in Sacramento, please. I'm trying to light the beam. We have to figure out how I can light the beam. I'll go through my Rick. I was a huge Rick Adelman guy. I was Rick Adelman fan before most of you were Rick Adelman fan. Come on.
We went over this before with all the coaches that we liked.
We were just talking about Reggie Theus
yes.
when we were in Vegas
yes.
because Reggie Theus didn't work out so hot as a head coach for the Kings, was a very good player for the Kings. He was a star at UNLV, got him to the Final Four. I think that was like, what did Korak? Because Ken Korak, if you don't know, at one point was the voice of the Running Rebels. He was the voice of San Jose State, then the Running Rebels. I think that was like 75, 76. Not that I was grinding UNLV hoops when I was 3 years old. When was he at UNLV?
Well, he played in the NBA. His first year in the NBA was 1978, so I'm assuming it was a little bit right before then.
Well, it might have been his sophomore year when they got there.
Of course, it does.
You're going into his pro. You got to go up into his college.
76 to 78.
So in 76, he got him to the Final Four. So it would have been 75, 76 season.
Sophomore year, he went to the Final Four.
So that was 76, 77.
Would have been 77, 78.
Whatever it is, I was a little kid and I do not remember. But the great Reggie Theus, little Sacramento Kings reference. All right. So we've given you some data. And it's pretty powerful. Once again, the number of 100 pitch games has decreased 70%. So in a world where all we do is talk about data and the front offices have all their data, like, how do you not look at this and go, this is bad? The number of 100 pitch games has decreased 70% in the last 10 seasons. They count full seasons because of the COVID year. And then 6 inning starts is down 36%. Those are massive numbers. Those are massive, massive numbers. And the average number of pitches in 10 years has gone from 96 to 85. So burst pitching, max out everything. They're going to tell us, well, haven't they always done that? Is there a difference of what, let's just say, certain pitchers used to do and how they do it now? Because I don't know if Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, Sandy Koufax, they're trying to find velocity now. Plyo balls, all these different things that the drive liners of the world are doing to try and find extra velocity. Mason Miller said something very interesting. And the next time we have him on, we're going to talk about if he ever used all that money MGM gave him in Vegas. This is great. So at our big party in Vegas over the weekend, we were with Mason Miller and we were talking about, I got all this money. I don't even know how I'm going to spend it. But anyway, Mason Miller said, I've never chased velocity. When he figured out the diagnosis of diabetes and changed, got insulin into him, because, when you're not making insulin, when your pancreas basically is dying and you're not making insulin and you get sick, next thing you know, he gets insulin, regulates, and all of a sudden weight comes on, strength comes on, here comes the velocity. He's never chased velocity. This is where, when next time we have Scott Emerson, because Scott Emerson is throwing it back on me. Didn't you try and throw as hard as you? Yeah, naturally. I didn't use plyo balls. I didn't use all the different things that they're doing now to try and get me to throw harder. It was either this, basically, this is what I got. I didn't chase it with techniques and training. And that's the difference of today. Do the Tommy John surgeries.
Oh, yeah. I read this in an article. I think it was Tyler Kepner of The Athletic. If you look, when they tied into Garrett Cole, in Garrett Cole's first season, there's 111 major minor league pitchers that underwent surgery to their UCL, according to an MLB study. 10 years later, in 2021, there were 314. Last year, there were 281 UCL surgeries.
In 1 year.
In 1 year.
281 in 1 year. At what point, Tommy John surgery used to not be the norm, and now it is the norm. That's a problem. That is a major problem. So Max Scherzer has an idea, and that's part of this Tom Verducci article, the basis of it, of forcing, like we have it with other things in sports, we're going to force change because, let's face it, you go all the way down to the lowest level, parents aren't changing, kids aren't changing, coaches aren't changing, right? Everybody's chasing this magical velocity. So then high schools aren't changing, colleges aren't changing, minor leagues, no one's changing. The only way you make change is you have to change the rules. So Max Scherzer, everybody loves them, their DH, because you either have a full-time DH or you use the DH as kind of like a day off. But it is an offensive position that these front offices wanted. So he's saying 6 innings or 100 pitches or 4 runs. Your starter's got to go 6 innings or 100 pitches or give up 4 runs. Then you can take him out and you keep the DH. I don't like the 4 runs. I don't want runs involved in this. I'm cool with the 6 innings or 100 pitches. If you decide, and it gets rid of the opener, if you decide that you're not going to allow your starter to go 6 or 100 pitches and you take him out, you then would lose your DH. And as we talked about with David Forst, was that yesterday or 2 days ago?
It was Monday. So 2 days ago, yeah.
2 days ago, we had David Forst on. And you got to remember, since they're carrying 13 pitchers now, you only have 4 spots on the bench. 4. And one's going to be your backup catcher. It's very tough for you to have a backup catcher come in and pinch hit early in the game, because what do you do if your catcher gets hurt? Then you're now going to whoever on the roster is your emergency guy. So really, pinch it, you can pinch it. You'll pinch hit your catcher, let your backup catcher late and risk that. But essentially, you got 3 guys on the bench. And if you lose your DH early, all of a sudden, pitchers are hitting again. In theory, right? Because you only have 3 guys on your bench. I mean, how many? You take a guy out early, and you have some type of kind of wild offensive game. You're gonna have that pitcher coming up. You're gonna do pinch hit. So it's an interesting. I like it. I like anything that forces starting pitchers to have to go. And Chris Bassett, getting back to our guy, Chris Bassett, when he was at his height with us, it fried him. The 5 and dive fried. He goes, I'm going out there because I want to be there the entire game. He had that old school mentality. I want to finish every game I pitch. And he was coming back from Tommy John surgery. But that's what he wanted. That was the mentality he had. We need to get back to the mentality where the pitcher means something. So when they put up on the marquee, like a boxing, these 2 guys, that's one of the things that's enticing to have people spend money to go to games. We need more balls put in play. And we want to have starting pitchers that it means something. Like all of a sudden, Beto's going today. Hey, look who's going today. We got Severino's going today. That's a big deal. I want to watch Severino pitch. Springs is electric. Hell, Joey Estes has proven he can go the distance. J.P. Sears, slicing and dicing. Make starting pitching mean something again. We're not going to have time for Smoltz, are we?
No, because the interview with Jenny is 10.5 minutes.
Oh, Cavnar went deep with it. That's right. All right. When can we get to the Smoltz? It's phenomenal audio.
We can get to it after Randy Miller, because we're going to talk about Garrett Cole with him. So
okay, that'll be perfect. All righty. Jenny Cavnar today on NBC Sports California with Dallas Braden. We've got one game every spring on television. It's today at 1 o'clock. NBC Sports California. Here's Jenny. This interview, of course, is Jenny Cavnar, but we actually look like we're
I'm the funny part of the
No, we look like we're on a cruise ship and we're greeting all the guests coming onto the cruise ship.
Welcome to the cruise
Welcome
liner.
aboard.
Yes, we have plenty of activities for the entire family. Come on in.
The Love Boat. Dun-dun-dun.
That's your generation, not mine. Sorry.
I am a little older. They're bringing the Love Boat back, but we're not going to get into that. Year 2, you being the lead. Last year was a lot of fun because I've said this to you, being a father of 2 girls, I have twin girls who are now at Cal, and talking about, there's always got to be somebody who breaks that barrier, who's that first. And we've seen it throughout sports. Obviously, baseball is always the last to change in a lot of ways. So it was a big deal what you did for our game, for people like me, and for my kids to watch. It meant a lot for them because they now started watching A's baseball more on television because of you. Last year this is year 2, so a lot to absorb, but just kind of go back to year 1 and what it meant for your career. It's a big deal to be the lead voice, but there was more to it.
Yeah, there was more to it. And I really appreciate that. I think for me, I'm always humbled when I hear from especially dads with daughters, because that's how I grew up, right? My dad was a baseball coach. I grew up with him watching baseball, loving baseball, really getting the love of the game from him. And so I think it's cool to hear from dads when they express, like, I got to watch a game with my daughter for the first time and she heard her voice represented in the game. That means so much. But I had a moment this year, Chris, when we were in San Diego, a lady probably in her 70s was waiting for me by the team bus and kind of asked me to come over. And she just like grabbed my hands and looked me in the eyes. And she's like, I've loved this game since I was a kid and I've been waiting to hear my voice in it. And like that really got me, because I realized there's an entire generation of fans, of female fans, that, you know, grew up without watching women on TV. And so I feel really blessed to be a part of the conversation of, you know, the greats like Susan Waldman, who's been doing it for so long, and being able to take that next step into the TV booth full time, and, you know, growing and learning. And I know for a city, it takes a lot of time. For an organization, it takes a lot of time, you know, to get to know someone who's calling games for you. And so I know that was going to happen. And now I'm really looking forward to getting to know the fans in Sacramento and what this journey brings us. That's a powerful story. I mean, there was people, you know, you just think about a sport, but there was a lot there. It was heavy. Last year was very heavy for you. This just wasn't showing up and I'm calling a game. No. There was a lot of pressure on you, and whether it's fair or not, I mean, talk about what you're on right now, A's Cast. You know, when I left the terrestrial radio business and we started this, people thought I was crazy. Yeah, right. People thought I heard murmurs inside our own organization of people who weren't happy with what I was doing. So it's like you almost feel like the people who are supposed to be supporting me are not even supporting. I mean, there's a lot when you're the first, the pioneer. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to take on. Well, I think that's the lesson, right? Change is hard. It's really hard. People don't like it. It's super hard, no matter your age, no matter your location. If you're changing jobs within the same organization, it's hard. Getting to do something for the first time is really challenging. And so to take that on, for me, the layers became, I was also working in the American League for the first time in my career. You know, this will be my 19th season in Major League Baseball as a broadcaster. It's all been in the National League West between the Padres and the Rockies up until last year. So it was getting to know a new league, a new division, sometimes new stadiums. I'd been to most of the stadiums, but I hadn't checked them all off yet. So you're calling a game from a vantage point that you've never been to. So there were just a lot of firsts along the way. We also have 2 small children, and my husband's a firefighter, and, you know, our home is established in Colorado. So trying to just maintain everything and run the household and do the logistics so I can go do this job and rely on so many wonderful people in our village. My parents, my in-laws, wonderful friends and family who just help us. It's just a lot to coordinate. And yet at the end of the day, I think when the season was done and I was able to finally let out that big sigh and look back, I'm so proud of the work we put together, because I saw growth in myself. I faced challenges. I never quit on them. And I lost a lot of sleepless nights on how we were going to end last season. It was a lot. And I really felt that weight to do the Oakland A's justice in their final game in that city, having a history of my mother-in-law growing up a huge Oakland A's fan, her mother being an Oakland A's fan. I knew what it meant. And so I, you know, being the driver in that seat, having Dallas Braden very emotional in that time, like I knew that it was going to be a really, really, really challenging week. And so I'm super proud of how we ended. And like I said, I think the reflection time was necessary, and now I'm really excited for year 2. Yeah, I think year 2 is really just, now you can just do your job. Yes. I'm excited to do my job. And what an honor we have to do it with such a young, talented group of players that showed up in the second half of the season. I mean, they played fantastic baseball. It was such a joy to watch and to commentate on. And now to know that there's another year of growth under their belt, another year of experience under their belt, and you sprinkle in new talent, free agent talent. It's a different year. Money was spent. Money. I'm so glad you were here. I wish all fans could have been here yesterday when the Mark Kotze and we were all in the room and all the players are in there and all the coaching staff, because
we knew about it the night before because, like I tell the fans, they kind of got to let us know because we got to be prepared, right? But the coaches didn't know, the players didn't know. John Fisher, the owner, went in, gave the message and talked to the team, and just to have everybody in that room and the announcement and to have David Forrest and Mark Kotze, that little press conference, it's just the change. There is a dramatic change in this organization, and to give Mark Kotze that kind of contract, it just tells you a lot about how this is completely different.
Yes, I think it tells you a lot about who Mark Kotze is as a human being, right? A steady leader. And I don't think those players would feel as comfortable as they do today in all the transitions that have happened if they didn't have a leader like Mark to really walk them through step by step, to walk through like letting the distractions go, being in that room. What matters is this group and growing together. And it was very obvious in how David Forrest kind of came to the conclusion that this extension, it didn't have to happen, but he wanted it to happen for Mark because he was so grateful for the time that he has put into making sure that this group is a cohesive group. Yeah. And as they move forward, they're moving forward together on the playing field. And obviously, we just talked about change. It's really difficult. It's hard to change cities and ballparks. And, that's been their constant for these young players. And so it's really neat to see a leader like Mark Kotze get rewarded for that. And I think knowing the conversations that we had with him, or, that I just had with him throughout the course of last year and that you've had with him the course of the last 3 years, he wanted to see this through, and to be able to get that opportunity now to know, okay, let's go into Vegas. Like that's a different mission, right? That's having your focus and your standards set further out than just what's in front of you today.
So you get to see what it's like behind the scenes, especially when you travel with the team on the plane. We're talking to Shea Langoliers about this. There's this kind of young core when you start to look at Blade and Langoliers and Lawrence Butler. They're a young core that they got their butts kicked. They've learned through that. You now have kind of a veteran guy with Rooker. They're bringing in more veteran players, but there's this young core, and you really get to see how these guys interact and how they've really come together. You can speak to that traveling with them.
Yeah, you definitely see it. I think it's a group that they genuinely like each other. And you don't always get that on every team, right? No. You don't always get that. It is a long season. It's a grind of 162. You're traveling. You're obviously, for these players, they're with each other more than they're with their wives or their kids or their families. And so you see the closeness, but I love how you kind of just layered it out. I think you put Brent Rooker in this category of being this team leader, and obviously he got rewarded with an extension this year. The reason that he's such a good leader of this group is because he has failures in his career.
Oh, yeah.
And he has massive successes the last 2 seasons. He had a point where he was going to go to Japan and instead made the decision to come here, and it changed the trajectory of his career. He can now utilize all that experience on these young guys who start to waver, who had success in the minor leagues, who come up and maybe it goes great year 1, Zack Gelof. Maybe it doesn't go so great year 2. They can have those conversations, and he's not talking down to them. He's talking with them. He's talking them through it, right? And I think that's what makes such a valuable leader in Brent Rooker. And it's a really neat group to watch unfold.
I kind of take offense when you say Love Boat's your generation. I was like a real little kid when the Love Boat was on. I kind of take offense.
Dallas, is that more where you're at? I don't know.
That's what, like Falcon Crest, Dallas. I was really little. But yes, I did watch those. I do.
I'll go with Saved by the Bell. That's my generation.
Kelly Kapowski. Hey, everybody, welcome aboard. This is the new A's look. No, it's going to be great. Year 2. We look forward to having you on A's Cast.
Thanks.
We're going to be joining the NBC family. A's Cast now on NBC.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to have everyone together.
Well, we're now together.
Yeah.
We've like changed the look. We're now, it's the A's putting on everything, and you're the lead. You're the star. So us joining you is going to be fantastic.
I need my captain for my yacht. My captain hat.
You could be on the Love Boat. Isaac and Doc, but you don't even know those characters. You didn't
Not
see
my generation.
that. This lead television face. I can't say voice, right? You're the face. She's the face of A's Television.
Is this over yet?
She's right here on A's Cast. Now, for you out there just listening to that, she was wearing a blue blazer that kind of looked very yachtish. and I had a blue sport coat on because we had taken pictures we had a photo shoot for NBC right before that. So that was the reference. We looked like we were two people greeting. We looked like we worked for Carnival Cruise, and we were greeting people. Welcome aboard.
Yes, and then your look obviously evolved when we were in Las Vegas to, as my wife said, a country club yuppie that a lot of our cohorts agreed with, and you weren't happy about.
Yeah, who's that Ross kid? I'm not happy with him. I look like a country club yuppie.
That's what my wife said. You have a bone to pick with her. But let's pause 10 seconds for station ID right here on A's Cast.
Oh, the Bronx Zoo. Remember, a couple months ago, they're in the World Series. Bring on the Dodgers. We're the Yankees. We're the big bad Yankees. I picked the Dodgers in 5. How did that World Series go?
Dodgers in 5.
Now, I don't like the Dodgers either, so it was a lose-lose. But, over the years, the Yankees, the battles that the A's have had with the Yankees, and, because when I was growing up, the Yankees stunk. Like, if you remember the 80s, Don Mattingly only made it to the playoffs one time in his illustrious career. So I remember the Mel Hall. I remember those Yankees. And then all of a sudden, here comes Joe Torre, and they're winning, and everybody thinks it's back, the Yankee, the Empire. Well, they got back to the World Series last year, and right now, there's doom and gloom in the Bronx. They're not even favored. They've dropped. Not even the favorite in their own division. When things go bad in New York, I get happy. We'll talk about it next. We're going to the East Coast, and we are going to we're going to talk with Randy Miller, who covers the Yankees, next, right here on A's Cast Live.
Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2025 season. Secure your seats today for opening week against the Chicago Cubs and lots of exciting giveaways, including an A's basketball jersey, a straw hat, and 3 bobbleheads. You'll be nodding yes to our Brent Rooker, Mason Miller, and Lawrence Butler bobbleheads in June and July. More hot ticket homestands as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, and Mets. Get your tickets at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
New A's starting pitcher Jeffrey Springs outlines the similarities between the young A's and his old team in Tampa Bay.
A lot of similarities in a lot of the ways, in the sense of like young guys, a lot of talented, young players that are establishing themselves or have, established themselves in the last year or two, and really finding, their way, their path, and kind of, making the adjustments. So it's exciting, watching, the guys throw, the guys hit, and then, like you said, competing against them the last couple of years. The talent, it's exciting. When you kind of have younger guys that are hungry and eager to play, those can be dangerous teams. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
The time is now. Pitchers and catchers have officially reported to Arizona. Grab your sunglasses, A's gear, and get ready for some fun in the sun as the Athletics get ready for the 2025 season. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Grab your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Dodgers, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium. Don't wait. Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring. Athletics DH Brent Rooker joined Towny on A's Cast Live during his extension press conference to discuss becoming the face of the franchise.
It's been a wild ride. It's crazy. Yeah, it's happened quick. In a sense, it feels like for me, in a sense, it's kind of taken a long time, obviously, because it took a little bit later into my career for things like this to start to develop. But it's been crazy. It's been fun. I owe a ton to this organization, the people in it, for giving me the opportunity that I was looking for a while, and I'm grateful I was able to take advantage of it and get to this point.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
You know, it's something that's not fun to talk about in spring. And it's about keeping your guys healthy. You need your guys to prepare. You got to get everybody ready for the grind that is Major League Baseball, 6+ months. But guys start playing games, guys start getting hurt. And the epidemic of pitchers, I mean, my God, Garrett Cole's got 100. Remember when he opted out and he thought that the Yankees were going to redo his deal and Brian Cashman went, nope. And then he opted back in. Think about that. He tried a power play on the Yankees to get more money. Or what was it? Or it was one more year
I think it was
on his deal. And they still owe him $144 million. Giancarlo Stanton, $111. I mean, if they get, I don't know, we'll find out. The Rodon deal, $111. Stroman, $36. DJ LeMahieu, $30. Randy Miller with us once again here on A's Cast Live. Randy, it was not that long ago. The Yankees were in the World Series. It was time to take on the Dodgers. Everything's back. People love Boone again. They love Cashman again. And then here we are. We're getting ready for the season. It sounds like doom and gloom in the Bronx.
That's the way the Yankee fans see it. And what's interesting was that when they lost Juan Soto, Yankee fans were angry. I knew he was going to the Mets all along. But when they lost him, right away they get Max Fried, they go get Goldschmidt, they get Cody Bellinger, and people are like, we have a better team, Yankee fans are saying. And now, all of a sudden, Luis Hill, the Rookie of the Year last year's, probably missing the first half of the season. 5 relievers on the injured list. Stanton's hurt, DJ LeMahieu's hurt, and now the biggie, as you mentioned earlier, Garrett Cole's out this year. And I don't know that he will be the same next year. It usually takes you 2 years to come back. So this is their window of opportunity in this Aaron Judge era now has taken a big hit here. They might lose 2 years. But I still believe that the American League is so weak right now that I still believe they went from by far the best team to the best team. I think they still have the best, second best pitching behind the Mariners. And I just don't know who can beat them in the division, and I don't know who can beat them in a playoff series. They're clearly not as good as the Dodgers, probably the Phillies, the Padres. But in the American League, I still think they're the best team.
Yeah, the American League really is wide open right now. A lot of people are loving, once again, the Texas Rangers in our division. But you start looking at the AL East, Baltimore's banged up big time. Boston's banged up. I mean, the AL East right now, is going into the season, I mean, there's a lot of IL and a lot of money on the IL. Even Boston, Devers hasn't even played yet. There's the drama going on with that with Bregman. There's a lot of interesting aspects going into the AL East to start the season.
There is, and the Red Sox are the one team, if they get healthy, that I think might be able to challenge the Yankees. You look at they got an ace in Crochet the offseason. They have 3 rookies coming up that might be something, and I don't know if they have quite enough pitching. And as bad as it is for the Yankees, look, they still added Max Fried. So Fried, if he's healthy, he's an ace. Clark Schmidt was on his way to the All-Star game last year before he got hurt. I know he got hit around yesterday, but he was trying a new pitch and got clobbered. I think he's going to be fine. Stroman, first half of the season last year, he had an ERA in the 2s. It's going to be interesting to see how it works for Stroman because he has this $18 million option for next year if he gets 140 innings. And I told Aaron Boone the other day, I says, look, before all these injuries, I said, the way to solve this is just make him be the opener. And then he can't get the he says he's starting, he won't pitch in relief. There's your problem solved. Make him get the 35 innings a year that way. But nobody wants Stroman. Nobody wants him because of the contract. Everywhere he's gone, he's rubbed people wrong. He's a fascinating guy. Went to Duke, intelligent guy, but it's I don't know how this is going to work, but I still think that they're going to be a good team, and they still have Aaron Judge. And Judge is I've been covering baseball a long time. I did the Phillies for 17 years. This is my 10th with the Yankees, and Judge is probably by far the best leader I've been around, and one of the best people I've ever been around in baseball, along with Jim Thome, Billy Wagner, a couple others.
That is high praise, and he's one of the most talented. He's a freak. We've never seen a guy his size play in our game. It's and of course he's out towards our area, so a lot of people in the Valley pulling for him here in California. You mentioned Aaron Boone. I used to have when Aaron Boone was on ESPN, we used to have him all the time, and I always liked him. A really good guy. How he's emerged as a leader, obviously it is the toughest job. We tell people all the time when we're at the winter meetings, and most managers, a couple people come over, a couple writers, all of a sudden Aaron Boone shows up, and there's so much, like yourself, and so many people around him. And after he does his one obligation at the winter meetings, he stands up, and then he has to do a second one with people. I mean, people don't realize, being the manager of the Yankees, the pressures, the obligations. I have so much respect for him. How do you view him? And now that he's really grown, gotten the team to the World Series, how do you view him as a manager?
I think he's one of the best managers in baseball. I had Terry Francona his first 4 years as manager. I know Terry well. We're both Pittsburghers. I think he's the best, and I think Boone is one of the best. Look, I get so many emails on fans that can't stand him. It's a different era. You cannot chew people out like they used to. Billy Martin can't manage today. I had somebody tell me a couple years ago that the only 2 managers that were actually making the lineups out were Francona and Tony La Russa. That was a couple years ago. So there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of analytics that you get a lineup and you're expected to use it. Someone had told me once when he got manager that they said, we're going to give you the keys to our Rolls Royce, but we're going to drive it. He gets players to play hard. Guys that don't play hard, they talk to him behind the scenes. You don't see it. Gleyber Torres, why isn't Gleyber Torres back? There's a guy that was, to me, I call him the Benjamin Button of baseball. When he was a minor leaguer, he had the baseball IQ of a 27-year-old. And when he's 27, he went back to 15. And he didn't run balls out. He didn't always hustle, a good kid, but that's one of the reasons why he's not back this year. But it's difficult to manage in New York because of the fans, the commitments, and it's also difficult in that the expectation, no matter what. The Yankees haven't had a losing season since 1992. They missed the playoffs one time in Boone's era. I think he's top 10 all time in winning percentage. And you would think that he has a winning percentage of 3,200 because he hasn't won the World Series. And look, the injuries, it's not Boone's fault. I think it's now 7 out of 8 years they've been crushed by injuries. They redid the entire strength and conditioning department 1 year. Twice in the last 7 years, they set major league records for most injured list stints. And they keep bringing on players that guys like Stanton, a big guy, he gets hurt every year. But I think Boone has done a tremendous job, and the Yankees are very lucky to have him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his, and it makes me think of like the Toronto Blue Jays, their last 3 postseason appearances, they're 0-6, 2 and a Q, get out of here. You think that is what's happened with Aaron Boone, that it hasn't. So yeah, it's a different monster when you're the head guy for the New York Yankees. Speaking of the head guys, Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman obviously is a future Hall of Famer, and his career is unreal. We know the connection between him and Billy Beane, our own Billy Beane, for all these years. Spend more money, go get people. There's a lot out there of what the fan base thinks they should do. What do you think Steinbrenner and Cashman will do with Garrett Cole being out?
I talked to Cashman yesterday about it. I think they're going to stay as is until the trade deadline. Right now, they are over the highest luxury tax, which is their payroll is over $301 million. So anyone that they would go out and get, they're paying 110% tax on. So you want to go out and get Dylan Cease, who's making like $15 million? Okay, that's $32 million you're paying them. I've had fans tell me, you have to fill the third base hole with Carlos Correa. You got to get him. They're the Yankees. Well, if they get Carlos Correa, who I think is making like $34 million a year, he's making, with the Yankees, he'd be over $70 million a year. It's I know the Dodgers are crazy right now with payroll and the Mets, but the Yankees still every year they're very high. But you have to have some small guys there too. And right now they have two guys that are probably going to fill the spot. It's either going to be Carlos Carrasco, who's going to turn 38 this month. He's been pretty good this spring, although he's walked a few. And they have a guy named Will Warren, who's their second best pitching prospect, who has been. He came up last year and got bombed. He's changed his pitches around a little bit, and he's been tremendous this spring. It's going to be interesting to see what they do there because Warren deserves the spot, but the pitching depth is so bad right now, and Carrasco has an opt-out that they may keep Carrasco and send Warren, who has options, to the minors to start the season just to keep that pitching depth there in case another guy goes down. Look, Carlos Rodon has had chronic back problems, is a threat to be hurt at any time. Freed's been hurt at times. Clark Schmidt started the season with he's pitched his first game yesterday because he was slowed by a sore back. So with so many injuries going on, I think that Carrasco probably will start out to be the guy. But Will Warren deserves it. But I still think they're going to be fine. I just don't think that the division is great right now. I don't think the American League is great. And your team out there is getting better. And I tell you one thing, I've been around Severino for years, and you're getting a guy he had some bad luck, but this guy is a heck of a leader. He's one of my all-time favorites to deal with in my 10 years covering the Yankees. This guy will definitely help the younger guys. He is just a tremendous role model, tremendous makeup. And I was around Severino when he was a 19-game winner and a 15-game winner when he was like third and fifth for the AL Cy Young. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big year in him. This guy is a really quality guy that you picked up.
Yeah, and you think about Severino, coming to the A's, having played both for the Yankees and the Mets. Not only does he have the experience playing in the biggest market, but he's pitched in a lot of postseason games.
He has pitched in a lot of big postseason games. And, if the A's can stay in it and make it interesting this year, I think that his experience will help guys because he will talk to guys. I know when Domingo Germán, who had the perfect game out in Oakland a couple years ago, when he was going through some things, Severino was the guy that counseled him a lot. He was a mentor to a lot of not just the Latino pitchers, but Clark Schmidt was a guy who was texting with them last year even. So this guy is going to be almost like a second pitching coach. I really hope the guy can stay healthy. He's had some bad breaks, but when he's healthy, he can be really, really good. He can be a legit number one. I've seen it for years at a time, and I'm hoping he's healthy and can make 33 starts and get over around 200 innings because the guy can win some ball games for you.
Randy, we having you on the program. We appreciate it. Safe travels this year, and we'll talk to you later on during the season.
Thanks, guys. By the way, a shout out to your producer, Cody, who went to the same high school as me. We both went to Terrell Pryor's high school from the quarterback from Oakland, and we were chatting earlier today. And I have a day off today, and my aunt's up at the Villages, and he lived on the same street as my aunt. So it's crazy that I'm up here and I'm visiting my aunt who grew up on the same street as Cody, and your producer and I went to the same high school.
Well, we got two Pennsylvania guys, two Pittsburgh guys, which also means we got too much Steeler love going on in here.
Too many.
Oh yeah. Not. Well, I'm older than Cody. I remember nothing can ever compare to the 70s Steelers. I think when I was younger, I think I paid $75 for a immaculate reception program, which I guess some people, the older folks out there, don't still love it. My aunt just told me she was at the game.
Was she really?
Yes, my aunt over there. She was at the game in 1972. I have a program. That game was not on TV in Pittsburgh. It was blacked out because it was not sold out in time. And my aunt had season tickets to the game. I went a couple, but I think when I was a Steeler beat writer in the early 90s, I did a big 20-year anniversary on it, and I talked to Madden, and he was still not over it. Oh. And I talked to Kenny Stabler, but what a rivalry. I mean, you guys are too young, but in the 70s, the Steelers and the Raiders played in the playoffs in 72, 73, 74, 75, and 76. And it was living in Pittsburgh in that era. man, did we hate the Raiders. But one year when the Steelers had a bunch of injuries early on and they got into the playoffs in 76, the Raiders had to win the final game of the season, knock Cincinnati out, and they did. And Steeler fans always had respect that they didn't tank at that game. And I believe the Steelers sent every player for the Raiders a briefcase thanking them for getting in the playoffs. And then Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier got hurt before the FC Championship game. The Raiders won, and they go on to win their only Super Bowl under John Madden. But what a great rivalry it was.
Oh, no doubt. I worked for the Oakland Raiders before they went to Las Vegas, and Steeler Week, whenever that happened, it was something special. And to think when you were growing up in Pittsburgh, that there you are. When guys stayed on the same team for so many years, what you had on offense, what you had on defense, all the Hall of Famers, Chuck Noll, one of the great football guys. It was such a great time for football. We're never going to see it again because of free agency and everything. But, man, to watch the steel curtain back in the day, it didn't get any better than that.
Oh, I was such a huge Jack Lambert fan. I was a Steeler beat writer from 92 to 94. Knowles last year and Cowher's first two. And I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of famous people. I spent a day with Muhammad Ali. I've interviewed Jordan. But when I was a young guy covering the Steelers in 92 and interviewing Noel, I was a little starstruck. And I think that was about the only time, just because look, the Steelers have had 3 coaches since 1969. I've been a Steeler fan since I was 5 or 6 years old in 1969 or 70. And you're right. It was an amazing era. And there's Raider teams too were fabulous. I love Dave Casper, the old tight end, and Freddie Bolitnikoff had all the stuff on his arm there to stick him. But it's to me, it's just a shame that I hate teams moving, and I feel bad for the A's fans. When I was a kid, the Steelers hated the Browns, and the Brown fans will always tell you, we hate you, but you stuck up for us when Modell took us to Baltimore, and I hate that. And I tell you what, when I come to A's fans, one of my best friends is Brian Kingman, the old A's pitcher. We've been to 3 or 4 Super Bowls together, and there were times where there were not a lot of fans at the games, and I get it. But I'll tell you what, the A's fans were some of the most passionate fans, and when you would go there, it was just a really fun experience. And as a baseball fan who grew up watching Roberto Clemente, Dave Parker, Willie Stargell, I love those 72, 73, 74 A's, and it's just a shame to me that they didn't get that ballpark, because I know that there are so many great A's fans. And it'd be fun to go to a new city this year, Sacramento, but I want to let the A's fans know that there's a lot of baseball fans around the nation that feel for the hurt that you're going through. And I hope that they follow the team in Sacramento, and I hope they have a good year, because it's a great baseball city.
I tell you what, I know a lot of fans are going to appreciate that, Randy. Hey, thank you so much. Enjoy the day off with the family, and we'll talk to you later on during the season.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. How good was that?
Not every day you can bring
you feel good. NFL films. It's a great thing about NFL films. And the Sable family, who knew what they were doing, would play so prominent in turning the NFL into what it is today. There's a lot of talk. I know not everybody follows golf, but there's a lot of talk about the issues and access, and it really plays. So Colin Morikawa, playing down at Arnold Palmer's tournament this past weekend, had the lead in the final round, and he gagged it. He didn't talk to the media after, and bolted up to the Players' Championship going on this weekend in the great Chris Carey's hometown, and it's at Ponte Vedra Beach, and it's a big tournament. It's the best field of the year, TPC Sawgrass, the Island Green. But Colin Morikawa got up there and was very arrogant and said, well, I don't owe you guys anything. And a lot of people have taken umbrage with it. Access is what makes these sports, and people love these sports, which then makes corporate sponsors want to invest in these sports. And when you start thinking that I owe you nothing, well, some sports get a likability problem. And when you get a likability problem, everything goes down. And when everything goes down, people start pulling out. And you don't want to be the generation of unlikable. It's what the NFL and the NBA have been so good at, is access. Like, we joke all the time here about access to our players. And having done the Golden State Warriors, I did Warriors pre and post game. I don't want you Sacramento people to dislike me, but yes, I did Warriors. I did a couple championships. When you dealt with Steph Curry, it was all planned out. Steph is super professional. Raymond Ritter, who does an unbelievable job. He's vice president there for I don't know, it's a communications or public relate. He's a VP bigwig with the Warriors. He runs all the PR. I mean, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond, the access that you have to these guys, I mean, it's unbelievable. Because at one point, the Warriors were the top hype team in the world. Like, you got kids running around China with Steph Curry jerseys. I mean, everybody wanted access to the Warriors, and they ran that circus. It was unbelievable. Access is how you promote your sport. So a lot of people, Colin Morikawa, have come back on him going, you sound just like a little entitled golfing snob. And it's not good. And access is a big key. And it's what's made the NFL. When we have NFL Films has cameras everywhere. Everywhere. I work the sidelines. They're everywhere. You just don't know they're there. And all of a sudden, when a team wins and that coach goes in to have that magical moment when you win an NFL game, because it is hard to win. Every one of these games is hard to win. And those magical moments when that head coach goes in there to talk to his players after a win or even after a loss, NFL Films is there to get it. All the moments on the sideline, it's the access that has helped make the NFL, and people love the NFL. We need to do a better job in baseball of the access because we've allowed the players. It's our clubhouse. It's not your clubhouse. How's it your clubhouse? Most of these buildings were built by taxpayers. You don't own that. You're allowed to be in that clubhouse. And the minute you're not employed, you're out of here. The whole thing of we have such weak access in Major League Baseball. The PGA Tour's finding that. Certain sports are finding that. The other sports who have been all in, like we're all in on your end. We're building this. We're building this brand. We're building this business for greatness. We want as much corporate dollars. We want as much fans in the seats. We want people scouring the internet. We want everybody downloading our apps. We want everybody around the world to participate in this. Has anybody been better than the NFL and the NBA?
Not even close.
Not even close. We're not even close. We're not even close. We're a sport that we have all these teams in Arizona, Florida go, we'll open up our clubhouse for an hour at spring training at 7 a.m. Go at it. Can you imagine the NFL doing that? The access of the NFL where like what the media is out at practices and when you're at training camp, the access that you have, you're out there, the access everybody has to the players, to the product, and these professionals are then able to give that to the public and the public can't get enough. It's about access and you need to have that. And talk about the steel curtain, the greatness of the Raiders and the Steelers and the battles they used to have was second to none. Now, I was just a little kid. You weren't even born, but they're legendary. And we have that because of NFL Films. Like they've done so many different things on the Immaculate Reception. A guy that I used to do a lot of work with, George Atkinson, who was on the field at the time, still thinks that ball touched the ground. They just didn't have the video of it. I mean, it's legendary. But the access is so key in our sport, and we just don't have it. We're trying. Like when they put Big Papi in the dugout doing his thing at the All-Star game, there's so much more access that people would love to see in the clubhouses, on the field. Who are these players? Let's sell these players. Let's sell these stories. Look at these great stories. Brent Rooker is an unbelievable story. Lawrence Butler is an unbelievable story. Luis Severino, you got Randy Miller sitting there talking about Luis Severino as a leader, as a man and a leader that Luis Severino is. That we've got to experience it, but he's a dude. Luis Severino was the top free agent of the winter before Juan Soto signed that deal. The A's signed this guy to be that guy. And as what I love what he said, Randy Miller said, just wasn't to the Latin guys. But it's huge for the Latin guys because the Latin guys need somebody, right? You're playing in a foreign country. You're not always great. Your English isn't great. To have someone like Luis Severino there to be that guy for you, not only for the guys on the big club, but guys also in the minor leagues. Luis Severino is a signing that means I talk so much about the change in culture for the Athletics, but Luis Severino, what he does as a leader to help all the young pitchers, to help Joey Estes, to help Mitch Spence, to help JP Sears, to help Springs, to help everybody, relievers. Luis Severino's been in New York. He's been in the Yankees. He's been in the Mets. He's been to the postseason. He's experienced it at the highest level. He is a tremendous resource that we have brought in for our pitching staff. It's exciting stuff that we have him. And, oh, yeah, he's damn good and had a really good year with the Mets. And what did Severino say? 200 innings, 30 starts. 200 innings, 30 starts. Think about that, 200 innings. John Smoltz, Hall of Fame pitcher, now great broadcaster, talking about this and injuries. This clip, it's about 3 minutes long, but it's fabulous. We have it for you next right here on A's Cast Live.
The time is now. Pitchers and catchers have officially reported to Arizona. Grab your sunglasses, A's gear, and get ready for some fun in the sun as the Athletics get ready for the 2025 season. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Grab your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Dodgers, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium. Don't wait. Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
A's right fielder Lawrence Butler joined Chris Townsend on A's Cast Live to talk about him being a symbol of the organization.
I mean, it means a lot because it just shows me how much, they value. And, I love the A's. I love the organization from the grounds crew to the trainers. I mean, I just love everything about it. I bleed green and gold. And, for them to just acknowledge me as that and everybody just to keep telling me, keep going, and all the coaches coming back from the minor leagues, I'm seeing them and stuff like that. It means a lot because, shows the hard work that I put in and they put in, with me. So, it means a lot to me.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
A's lefty JP Sears joined Chris Townsend on A's Cast Live in Mesa to discuss his ability to take the ball every 5 days.
I think that's one of the main things you try and do as a starting pitcher is your availability. And it kind of comes with, having a good routine and, sticking to routine and kind of learning, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So, I've been proud of being able to do that the past couple of years and looking to do that again this year. But, obviously there's always things we want to get better at and, ways I feel like I can help this team out a lot more than I have in the past. And so, I've done a pretty good job, I feel like, of, getting a lot of quantity, a lot of a lot of innings the last couple of years, but just want to sharpen up those outings that, you're talking about. The rough ones are the ones that kind of can go either way. Those are really the big season definers there and team definers.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
I'm a little jealous. I'm looking at Fox Sports MLB on X. Talking about the Tokyo Dome looks ready. They got pictures. Then you see the Dodgers. MLB's reposted the Dodgers landing. How smart are the Dodgers? You think they know how to make money? You're going over to Tokyo. How many Japanese players do they have, Cody?
Well, I know 3 for sure.
Yep.
I'll say.
I just the 3.
Yeah, I think it's.
I mean, Shohei, he's a good little player.
He had a nice little year last year.
This Roki Sasaki guy is looking like he's got nastiness written all over him. What's he, 22?
Yeah, and they give up a run in spring.
And then you got Yamamoto. So you're taking Japanese players back to Japan. You already have deals with Japanese airlines, Japanese banks. You don't think the Dodgers are going to Japan to do more than play baseball and have some business meetings about more sponsorships? Look at the players we have on our team from your country. Look how many eyeballs are on the Dodgers from Japan, the land of the rising sun. I mean, you talk about smart business. I mean, we know over the years, whether it was Ichiro with Seattle, Hideo Nomo with LA years ago, the tornado. I mean, you have a Japanese-born player, and he excels. We had Godzilla. Of course, he starred and was MVP of the World Series for the Yankees, Matsui. But we have one of these guys. I mean, it's a cash cow, and they're taking 3 of them. And Roki and Yamamoto are starting the first 2 games. You're a Major League Baseball team going to play the Japanese series, and you're starting 2 Japanese pitchers. You don't think behind the scenes there's more talk of more sponsorship money from corporate entities over in Japan? And there's a lot of money over there. Wow.
Yeah, game 1's Yamamoto versus you know him as Mike. I know him as Shota Iminaga.
Mike. Shota is this kid's personality is off the charts. They're like, Mike. He goes, yeah, when I go to Starbucks, Shota's too hard for him, so I just say Mike. So they start putting Mike on his
It was
locker.
so great that last year.
Shota, I'm a big fan.
And then Roki starting game 2. So you won't see Ohtani pitch in Japan.
Yeah, I forgot. I mean, you have another Japanese. You have 3 Japanese pitchers starting in this series. We're not a global game, really?
Oh, and you got Seiya Suzuki playing for the Cubs as well.
By the way, you got Ohtani coming off another Tommy John surgery. So we've been talking about today, bringing back the starting pitchers, and then how do we keep these guys healthy? I want you to hear this clip before we get to Zack Gelof. We're trying to figure out how to make the starting pitcher more prominent, how to get him to pitch more, to get more balls in play, trying to make the game better, and keep these guys healthy all at the same time. Here is the Hall of Famer.
I think the most workable, and you look at other sports who have done things that might be outlandish that work out great, right? With the NFL and protecting the quarterback. Now you got the kickoff rule. A lot of people are going to look at that as like, well, really? But it's all based on the health of their sport. If they lose their quarterbacks, they lose their sport. They figured that out. Well, we haven't figured out that we're losing our starting pitching, and we've been losing it at a gradual rate for 10 years now. Since analytics came in the game, that was the design. Limit and use as many pitchers and throw as hard as you can. And so the sport has suffered dramatically from that, but they're not violating any rules. They're not doing anything that's against the game by rule violations. The philosophy might be flawed. And Major League Baseball's got to look at it and say, what we did 2 years ago has drastically changed the game for the good. We can all agree the game is back to an athletic, action-packed game. Now, the rule changes that you have to put in place that make a team decide, Are we going to stay the way we are, which we could under the double hook? I like that one the best because it still gives teams, if they're stubborn and they want to start an opener, then they can do it and have 4 pinch hitters, right? And they can do that. So I think that's a great way to start changing the philosophy of organizations because it will not self-sustain itself. It will not self-correct itself. That you would have thought this would have happened 6 years ago, but now we're at an all-time rate in injuries, and you can't find starters to get to the postseason for some elite teams. They have to do something to change the reward system. And if you change the philosophy, you'll change the reward system. This is not rocket science. We didn't just fall off the moon and go, guys have never thrown 200 innings, so I don't know what you're talking about. This is the new normal. Guys that have thrown 3,000 innings like myself have never been asked, how did you do it? So when you have an industry that doesn't look backwards to figure out how you can go forward, they've got all the answers. And if you have all the answers and you never address the injuries, then you realize you don't have all the answers. So a rule change is imminent. And I think anything they come up with, it can't be too weird anymore. It can't be too crazy because the direction of the game has not, like the pendulum, they say, takes a long time to work. You know, this is not going to self-correct if they don't make a rule change. So I applaud baseball for looking at it. And I promise you, it will not be that big of a rule change. It won't dramatically change the world of pitching. It'll just get us back to a little bit more normalcy.
That's Hall of Famer John Smoltz, kind of like Eckersley. Just what's different is Eck was a starter, won over 100 games, but resurrected himself to be one of the great closers of all time. John Smoltz, Cy Young Award winner, great starter, had some injuries, went to the bullpen, and became a really, really high-level great closer. So they're very similar as guys that were great at both, and both in the Baseball Hall of Fame. We got our Dennis Eckersley bobblehead up here, right? Somewhere? Where's our Eckersley? Got Canseco, got McGuire, got Campy, got the big three, we got Raleigh.
Wasn't there an Eck bobblehead last year?
Where is the Eck bobblehead? We got Sean Manaea, Fran Reardon.
We have Nolan Ryan back here.
We got Nolan Ryan. we got Shohei Ohtani as an angel. That doesn't work as much anymore.
Mark Kotze is a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You can take the helmet off.
But
I thought we had an Eck.
So the thing that he says right there that's so correct is that the sport is not going to self-correct. Like, we've given them time and they haven't done it. They just keep getting worse. And you've allowed front offices, they're very smart. And not only is it front offices now, it's these pitch labs. How many times where you hear about, I've worked on a pitch design, right? The max velocity, max spin, as they call it, burst pitching in this article by Tom Verducci, Sports Illustrated. It's out there right now. It came out yesterday or 2 days ago with Max Scherzer about how we got to change things. And these numbers of injuries and these numbers of lack of production from starters, it's overwhelming. So whatever data front offices are using, they're not going to change unless you force them. Baseball players wanted to play slow. They weren't changing. There wasn't a self-correct. So what did they do? They put a clock in. When people say you can never have a clock, they're doing the same thing in golf right now. Golf is taking so long. They're playing 5-hour rounds that the PGA Tour is now stepping in going, we got to do something about this. No one wants to sit around and watch people do stuff for 5 hours. No one wanted to watch 4 hours, 3 hours, and 45 minutes in baseball. So what do? We implement a clock. Boom, game's down a half hour. So now games are ending at 9:30, which you can get in your car and get home at 10 o'clock and still get up and go to work the next day. No one wants to sit around for hours. Take too long. So you got to implement the change. And if you make a change where you say, all right, your starter's got to do X, Y, and Z, and if you take him out before that, you're going to lose your DH. There's a penalty because they don't want to take their DH position out because we finally got a DH in both leagues. It's an offensive position. We've already told you slugging on base, but slug helps you win games. On base obviously helps you win games, but you want a slug. And you take that slugger out, and now you got to start pinch hitting again for the pitcher, and you have a small bench because you're carrying 13 pitchers. So we've made the game right now so these front offices can do all this stuff, right? We gave them more players. We gave them more pitchers. And that, I don't think they're going to take that away. So how do we take that away? Well, make there a penalty. If you don't want your starters to go deep, there's a penalty. And here's the penalty. Now, I understand the 4 runs. I don't love the runs that he gives up, and you get it because basically if you go out and get bombed, you can take the pitcher out and keep the DH. So what Max Scherzer is saying, you got to go 6 innings or 100 pitches or give up 4 runs. Then if you hit any of those 3, you can now take a guy out without losing the DH. So either your guy goes 6, you throw 100 pitches, or you give up 4 runs. The 4 runs is if my guy goes out and gets bombed, I need to go get him. And I don't want to lose the DH because he just didn't have it today. I understand it, and I'm all for it. I was all for the clock. I've been all for the changes. And all the changes have worked. They've modernized the game. Because what did I see in front of me when I was calling games at spring training at the very beginning? The ABS system. It engaged the crowd. We need to engage the crowd. Like the ABS, it's less than 10 seconds. Umpire comes up. So pitch is thrown. Either the pitcher, the catcher, or the batter's going to challenge. The umpire stands up, looks at the scoreboard. Turns around, looks at the press box, says they're challenging, and then immediately pops up on the scoreboard, and everybody goes, and then it's like ball or strike, and everybody reacts. They're like into it.
I saw it the first time when we were in Las Vegas this past weekend at Las Vegas Ballpark. That was the first time I got to see it, and I loved it.
Everybody loves it, right? So how about the strategy of the manager coming out in the 4th inning and everybody in the stands going, no, you can't take him out. If you take him out, we lose the DH. It adds something to the crowd, to the entertainment value, right? The strategy of the game. I dig it. Like, you don't want your guys to go deep and you just want a volume of pitchers. That's why when we talked to Fran Reardon, the Aviators manager, our AAA manager, we got the bobblehead right here if you're watching the show. And Fran Reardon, I said, Fran, it drives me nuts when I hear it's the big leagues. This is the big leagues, big league pitchers. Big league pitchers, man, we're using over 550 pitchers a year in baseball. So that means the line is blurred between who's been in the minor leagues, who's coming up and down. Every single night, you're facing guys in Major League Baseball who are up and down from AAA. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. It's constant. So this big league pitcher, man, 563 pitchers used 2 years ago. What was it last year?
863.
863 last year. 2 years ago.
Yeah, 855.
855 and 863 in back-to-back years, and you're trying to tell me what big league pitchers are? Man, we have a high-speed rail between AAA and our big league clubs now when we're doing pitching, right? It's not buses.
It's time we get that train.
Yeah, our taxes finally worked. Every single big league team has a high-speed rail to AAA, and we're shuffling pitchers back and forth. Spare me on the big leagues and the pitching. That line is so blurred.
Well, I told you I went back and looked just to see where percentages of pitching was coming from last year. 59% starters, 41% relievers. I didn't have a chance to go back and look what it was 10 years ago, but 41%, that number needs to be a lot higher if you want to have success in the game and have the marquee of the starting pitcher come back again, where we talk about, hey, I want to go see Luis Severino versus Jacob deGrom in an AL West game, Rangers A's. Not, hey, I'm going to go see John Gray pitch 3 innings for the Rangers versus who's this guy pitching for the A's? Or hey, there's an opener, but there's a guy coming in after him because he's the bulk guy. They need to restore the marquee of the starting pitcher, and that's something that we've talked about, that the sport has talked about, getting those guys back. And hearing what deGrom said yesterday about not wanting to throw 100 miles an hour, and how he pitches better that way. It's funny we brought it up. Jeff Passan wrote a whole article on ESPN about it today, and it's going to start catching on that, hey, he doesn't need to throw 100. He was talking about how when he's throwing 96, he felt his best, and that's when he pitched his best. And
he pitched. Not everything was full go, full max. And once again, they're chasing velocity to where you have somebody like Mason Miller who just say, I don't chase. This is what I got. We have all these people going to these labs chasing, trying to get this extra 2-3 miles an hour, and the stress that it puts on your body. Last year, so here's a great example is last season, Beto, who's going today for us, right?
Correct.
Where did he start the season?
AAA.
So we're now talking about Beto's a big part of our staff. He's not young. He's 28.
Yeah.
But last year, he started in AAA. Joey Estes is going to play a big role. Where did he start last year? AAA, right? Look at our bullpen. Look how many guys in our bullpen we're counting on this year. We're in the minor leagues last year, came up. I mean, it's just like
Ferguson, Holman come to mind.
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, it's not like you're not facing staffs where all 13 guys have been in the big leagues for years and every starter's been in the big leagues for years. No, these guys are coming up and down and up and down and up and down. All righty, a guy that needs to be up this year, no question about it. If he gets rolling, wow, look out for the offense. Zack Gelof, if he can play like he did in 2023 and really get that career going once again, this kid has the ability to have a very special career. He's got it all. Starting to get hot in spring training. Here's our conversation that we had with him down in Mesa. Here on A's Cast Live, the Athletics second baseman. And before we came on camera here, and before, of course, people are listening on terrestrial radio and on A's Cast Live, we were talking about some things from your past. I didn't realize in Surf Bagel in Delaware, you're kind of a big deal. You have like multiple posters in this business.
Well, so my dad started a travel team called the Bagel Bombers, and it's because the other dad owned the bagel shop Surf Bagel. So it's a nice local place that we like to get breakfast on the way to school, and some success.
You're kind of a big deal
in a small town. Yeah, I guess a little bit.
And Commander Cody, the producer, was now bragging about your soccer, like you were a good soccer player.
Yeah, I was pretty good.
So how do we translate that into making you a star baseball player?
I don't know, still trying to figure that out, but I bring the soccer ball out every now and then during some day games. It's fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think you know this, that if there's anybody around here that believes in you, it's me. I think you got the makings of something really special. You showed us right out of the gate what you got. I think you went through some stuff last year that you weren't really honest about with everybody, dealing with injuries. And when you play through injuries, which you have to do in professional sports, you play through injuries and it can affect you mechanically and some of the fundamental stuff. So just kind of, you don't have to tell us exactly what was going on, but just last year there were some bumps, there were some hurdles that you went through, but you played in a lot of games in the end, and that's what meant the most.
Yeah, I think obviously the oblique kept me out, and I came back and I was healthy, but obviously I think sometimes, I can create some bad habits with the way I was swinging, and, I was healthy. I truly was healthy coming back, but I think ultimately I was just developing bad habits, mentally and physically. So definitely wanted to clean some of that stuff up, and I think I have.
No doubt about it, and I think you finished strong, and you felt good about your finish last year.
Yeah, I felt great because, we're winning games. So at the end of the day, it's all about winning. And to be a part of this team and be a contributor and just ultimately help in any way is a lot of fun. That's where I find the most fun.
So I think about, you've come up with quite a few of the guys. Some guys you didn't, but there's like this core going on right now. When you look at J.J. Bleday and Lawrence Butler and Soderstrom, and Kurtz is going to be coming, you at second base, and Wilson, and then you think of Shea Langoliers, who could just have a monster year. Just talk about this young, super athletic core that is in that clubhouse right now that is hungry to win.
Yeah, it's great. Top to bottom of the order, we got guys that can run, can hit for power, can do the job, and then I feel like we're getting better defensively every year that we've been together as a group. And then we got guys that I feel like we've drafted well, we've developed really well, and then this offseason I think the front office did a great job of going out and grabbing really talented guys, and also, they're just great guys in the clubhouse too, from what I've seen the past week or so. It's a lot of fun to be around the guys, and I'm looking forward to this year.
When you think about Jacob Wilson, and you did with Max Schumann last year when he started playing every single day, just talk about the chemistry and how important it is up the middle to have that chemistry with each other.
Yeah, it's huge. You got cuts, relays are in the middle of the field, turn double plays and everything. So that's huge. Whoever has been there the past 2 years that I've been up, it's been a few different guys, and everyone's done a great job. But, Jacob's looked great in camp so far, and I feel like he's just going to continue to get better.
Leadership qualities still at a young age. You have those leadership qualities, and a lot of guys look up to you. Lawrence Butler always talks about it. I know he talks about it around you. So what does that mean to you, that a lot of these young guys, how they feel about your leadership qualities?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's up to them to think what they want to think. I just focus on, I feel like, doing things the right way and continually trying to get better. And I feel like last year I kind of lost sight of that, and I think this year that's when I'm really just trying to stay in the moment. And results they're going to be what they're going to be.
Yeah.
But going out there and just do what I know I can do and have fun doing it.
When you start talking about the start of the season, I want to see you have fun. I want to see you have fun again, because when you have fun, the numbers are coming. Have you thought about, sometimes we get so worried about mechanics and fundamentals and everything, and sometimes just let it rock, let it flow.
Yeah, it's a lot easier said than done. When you're in it, it's pretty tough, but I feel like I learned a lot of lessons through it all. But yeah, definitely. Winning at the end of the year, I think that's what made it even more fun. Is winning together as a team is nothing better than that.
I know this organization means a lot to you. So when they signed Luis Severino and Rooker gets the extension, and Mark Kotze, which was a surprise to all of us, gets that big extension, what did that mean to you?
It's great. It seems like, I can't really speak for Severino. I just met him a few days ago, but all of them are just truly great people. And Kotz has done a great job from when I got drafted, coming here in spring training, and until this day. I feel like he's just the guy for the job. It's as simple as it is. And then Rooker doing a great job, having a great story, up and down, not really getting opportunities, gets his final shot with Oakland and with the Athletics, and then taking care of business and going off and going crazy. He deserves the world, and there's are going to be key guys for us.
Just how much? Let's end on this. How much are you looking forward to the 2025 season with these guys?
It's going to be exciting to watch. Hopefully I'm on base for a lot of Rooks homers and playing some good defense behind Severino. But even the other guys that we traded for and the guys developed, I feel like top to bottom we just got a really good mix of guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Can't wait to see you in Sacramento.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Athletic second baseman. I believe in this kid. You know the comp that I have for him.
Well, you already had a statue built for him, but yes, Ryan Sandberg.
I didn't realize that when I did that, they were going to take that clip at the Coliseum and put it up on the scoreboard, so he had to hear it every day.
Yep, it was literally. Well, remember when there was. We only got our stuff played every so often, and
no, but they played that over and over and over again, and he's like, "Yeah, I had to hear that." But if you look at Ryan Sandberg early in his career, he was a taller second baseman with power, athletic, extra bases, home runs. He stole bags, really good on defense. Had a phenomenal career, and he's got a plaque in the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's just when you just look at body types, games, ability to drive the ball the other way. That's when Gelof's really going well. He's driving it the other way, but he's got, as the scout said in Moneyball, he's got pop. Rings all around the ballpark.
There's other ones. He said, I don't have them on this computer.
Why do you not have those? You got to get our scouts from Moneyball.
Slowly transitioning all that stuff over from the old computer.
He's a good-looking kid. He's got the look. What, are we selling jeans here?
Looking for Fabio.
I was watching that on the plane on the way back from Vegas. So just that openings, it's the first scene of Brad Pitt with the scouts, Billy Beane with the scouts, and the things they say. Who's Fabio? It's hilarious. And Billy Beane has told us on this program, he goes, if you think that's funny, some of the stuff they really said was even way crazier than that, how much scouts and what they'll say about players. He's a five-tool guy.
Good-looking ball player.
Good-looking ball player. And then Brad Pitt's like, and it's really a great line. And it's really for everything in sports. But when Brad Pitt playing Billy Beane goes, if he's such a good hitter, why doesn't he hit? Oh, he just needs time. He's one of our guys. No.
You get this guy 400 at bats.
Let's go back to this. If he's such a good hitter, why doesn't he hit? If he's such a good shooter, why doesn't he make baskets? If he's such a good quarterback, why does he keep throwing interceptions and he can't hit a wide receiver if he's such a good quarterback? It's a simple question. Well, if this guy's this good, why doesn't he do it? Well, we're projecting and we're hoping, and that's why we got to get all those sound bites on this computer because we have a bunch of new listeners and they haven't heard it and they probably haven't seen the movie in years. And it's some of the funniest stuff.
It was one of the movies you could watch on the plane when we went to.
Yeah, Moneyball was on Southwest.
Because I was going to watch a different movie than I saw.
I fast forward, the start. I went straight to the scouts thing because we didn't have a lot of time. I found it right before we were landing. I'm like, that first opening, the openings. He meets with Steve Schott, whoever the actor was who played Steve Schott. There's a shot of him taking his car across the Bay Bridge and meeting at some office in San Francisco. And he meets, and Steve Schott's like, "No, you're not getting any more money." And Brad Pitt's like, "I'm not leaving here." And you're not getting any more money. You lost Giambi. You lost who else? Damon and Isringhausen. It's like, replace them. That's what you guys do. And so then the next scene is the scouts. And you're not even looking at the problem. There's us, they're blank, there's X amount of feet of excrement, and then there's us. I mean, dude, the scene is unbelievable. It's one of the great scenes. All righty, we got baseball all over the place for you. Here on A's Cast, you can listen to the Athletics take on the D-backs. Of course, you can listen to it on our station in Sacramento, 650 KSTE, 95.5 The Bowl in Las Vegas. And you can watch. This is the one game you can watch from spring training today on NBC Sports California. We're back tomorrow. The Big Red Machine against the A's. The rematch, played in what?
72.
I don't have time. 72 and 90. All right, we'll be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Enjoy A's baseball next.
Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2025 season. Secure your seats today for opening week against the Chicago Cubs and lots of exciting giveaways, including an A's basketball jersey, a straw hat, and 3 bobbleheads. You'll be nodding yes to our Brent Rooker, Mason Miller, and Lawrence Butler bobbleheads in June and July. More hot ticket homestands as your green and gold take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, and Mets. Get your tickets at athletics.com/tickets. That's athletics.com/tickets.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.